Hey YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and we've got your Week 14 waiver wire video. This is, for most people, the last week of the regular season for fantasy, and then of course we jump right into fantasy playoffs. So this is a crucial week for probably most. You're either positioning your spot in the fantasy rankings, and of course probably making a spot in general just to get into that top spot. Now, there are two teams on a bye. Yes, there are two teams on a bye. There's the Commanders and the Cardinals. So there's players you do have to take account for. And there were a lot of injuries that had happened over this weekend. Hopefully you guys came out with a victory. We still have the Monday night game. I'm going to send all the best vibes to you and your team to make sure you guys pull off that victory tonight. But I want to get this waiver wire video out there for you guys to get you prepared and ready. Now, the first player I'm going to mention is going to be Jordan Love versus the Giants. He's available in 36% of most leagues. Love has been on a hot streak, finishing Sunday night with 3 touchdowns and no turnovers against the Chiefs, pulling up that upset victory that a lot of people had Kansas City winning. Putting the 4th highest points this week so far in Week 13 with 23.6 points. In the last 4 games alone, Love has averaged 22.4 points a game. In those 4 games, he has thrown 10 touchdowns and 1 interception. He's got a great matchup against the Giants for Monday Night Football. The Giants defense is porous. They're injured. They're not going to put up a huge fight. So again, I expect Love to have a nice little matchup. I like him as my number 1 waiver wire, especially if you're in need of a quarterback. Now, another quarterback I'm going to mention is Matthew Stafford here versus the Ravens. He's available in 46% of most leagues. Stafford has had 2 great weeks, averaging over 23 fantasy points a week, putting up 7 touchdowns and 1 interception in those 2 games. Now, I had Stafford ranked lower against a tough Browns defense, but he went off. He was able to spread the ball around. Kupp and Nakua looked amazing. You had players that you didn't even expect to have a good game, ended up playing really well and putting up a good game for Stafford. With that said, he still has a tough matchup against the Baltimore Ravens, but Stafford did well against a tough defense against Cleveland. So we'll see how that plays out, but if you're desperate for a quarterback, or maybe you stream a quarterback every single week, Matthew Stafford is definitely somebody you can consider. Now, I'm not going to really talk too much, but you could also, if in a desperate need, get Jameis Winston as well, because Derek Carr is going through concussion protocol. And typically concussion protocols, you're missing at least 1 week. We'll see how that plays out. But if Stafford or Love aren't here, maybe Winston. Now, running back, Chuba Hubbard versus the Saints. Available in 31% of most leagues. Hubbard has had his best game this season against the Bucs. Now, I will take some of that credit away from Chuba only because the Bucs did not have their top 2 linebackers in Levante David and Devin White. So, with that said, Hubbard still took advantage of that. He had over 100 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. Now, the week before that, he also had 20 fantasy points. So he had a touchdown. He had obviously a lot of great receptions. But this is a Saints defense that is pretty good against the run. So I do have some hesitation as far as recommending him as a starter. And obviously, make sure you guys are paying attention when we drop that video. But I do like Chuba. You should definitely stash him on your team. Another running back is Ezekiel Elliott versus the Steelers. He's available in 60% of most leagues. Zeke now moves into the RB1 role with the Patriots, with Ramondre possibly missing 3 games or more due to his injury. Zeke put up 13 points, taking over after that. I'm not looking for Zeke to be a wow type of player, but he's consistent. He's a great receiving back. He's a good pass blocker, which obviously keeps him in the game. And if he gets near the end zone, should score for you. But the biggest challenge that I do have with Zeke being someone you have to pick up is just the fact that the offense is poor. Like, they're not great. They had Zappy in there. Mac Jones lost his job. This is a Patriots offense I'm really worried about. So that does concern me, but if Zeke does take over as the RB1 and this offense gets a little bit better, he's got a great stretch of teams that are horrible against the run. So he might be no sneaky play for the end of the season. Another running back is Tyjae Spears versus the Dolphins. He's available in 65% of most leagues. Spears could possibly be the RB1 this week with Derrick Henry leaving and going into concussion protocol. Again, these protocols consistently typically mean you're missing 1 game, but I've seen some players, and a few of you guys have probably noticed, some players have been able to play even after being concussed the previous week. With that said, Spears had 75 yards on the ground and 4 receptions. He will definitely be needed in the receiving game against a tough Dolphins matchup for their Monday night matchup. Yes, there are 2 Monday night games, but that's something you got to consider. But he's definitely worth a stash. He could possibly be a solid flex play. Now, wide receiver, I've got Christian Watson versus the Giants. He's available in 31% in most leagues. Watson kept his momentum going after that great Thanksgiving game, putting up 70 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Chiefs. Now, the worrisome thing is he grabbed his hamstring near the end of the game and left. This is a concern because he missed the first 3 games of the season due to his hamstring, and we're hoping it's not as serious. We got to watch what he has been, this injury going up to this, because he's got a great matchup in the Giants, and I would love for you to grab him and play this week. Even if he doesn't play, he's definitely worth a stash just because of what is looking like for the rest of the season. But just keep an eye on the injury report because we'll see how he plays in practices this week. Another receiver I like is Brandin Cooks versus the Eagles. He's available in 37% of most leagues. Cooks hasn't been the most consistent player and only put up 1 point the last outing against Philly, but the last 2 weeks he's put up an average of over 16 points a game. And I also don't expect Dallas to let Cooks not be part of this game plan. Like, he's going to be a huge part of this game plan against the Philadelphia Eagles. This is a big game for them because this is for the chance to be tied for first place in the NFC East. Eagles are horrible against the pass. You saw what happened against the 49ers. Look, Purdy put up, 4 touchdowns? Like, Purdy looked amazing in that game. And I'll give credit to him because he's played really well, but I also give credit to the fact that the Eagles defense is horrible against the pass. Now you got to go in against a really hot Dak Prescott, and I do expect Cooks to have a really good game this week. So again, 37% of you may want to grab him if you can. Now, the last player I'm going to talk about is going to be Darren Waller versus the Packers. He's available in 42% of most leagues. Waller is expected to come off of IR, and if so, has a chance to put up solid numbers against an average Packers defense against the tight end. The biggest thing is just really keeping an eye on practice, keeping an eye on the news, because nothing has been said yet. This is the week he is eligible, so there's a chance he could come back. If he does and you're desperate at tight end, Darren Waller is somebody you may want to consider. So those are my Week 14 waiver wires. Obviously, we'll see what happens with the Monday night game. Hopefully everyone is healthy, there's no issues, but we do got to keep an eye on that. If you guys need any help with your waiver wire questions, hit us up in the comments down below. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Make sure you guys hit that notification bell because we'll be dropping start and sit videos. Follow us on X, Instagram, and Facebook, and I'll check you guys out next time.